Hello, how you doing? Welcome to your English Language Paper 1 mock response materials. We're here to look at Section A, Question 2. And Question 2 is out of 8 marks, and it's one that really examines that skill of do you understand the methods that the writer is using, and do you understand the effects that that choice of language has. And it's a skill that is throughout both GCSEs. You do this with Lord of the Flies, you do this with Macbeth, you do this with Christmas Carol, you do it with your poetry, and you do it in paper 2 as well. Right the way across the piece. This is a skill that you have to master to do well. So whilst it's only 8 marks in this question, in this paper in question 2, if you master this skill, your life is much easier over the next couple of months. So do take note. So you can see here in question 2, it gives you an extract to look at, an extract which you've got here, and it asks you the question, how does the writer use language here to describe the hyena's appearance? I think this is a really simple question. It's one of the most straightforward ones that I've seen from the exam board, if truth be told. Yet a lot of you still struggled with it. We're going to talk about that as to why. If you look at the mark scheme, what I've highlighted there is the fact that all of us can pick out words that are used and terminology that's used, similes, metaphors, imagery, contrast, all that sort of thing. But what seems to hold students back is actually talking about the effects of those choices. It's not a game of bingo. It's not, oh, there's a simile, there's a metaphor, there's a verb, there's whatever. Without the effects, you might as well not write it. So a lot of people spend a lot of time writing here and actually only getting 2 or 3 marks because they don't talk about the effects. So something you have to do actually is have a strategy, and I'm going to give you an idea for a strategy. It's not a faultless strategy. Other English teachers offer very different strategies, but if I was taking the exam, this would unquestionably be mine. So my strategy would be as follows. Firstly, I would want to read that passage, and I don't want to identify 3 bits of language that I think are used for effect. 3 bits that I think actually I'm confident with writing about. I'm confident with saying why the writer chose to use those methods. And once you find those 3 things, you can ignore everything else, and actually the question becomes really straightforward. And then I need to ensure that I know the terminology, because there are marks for terminology, and also, as I've said before, write about the effects of language. Once I've got that, then actually I'm looking to write 3 analytical paragraphs using analytical verbs, and the get out of jail free line, which is it makes the reader think, feel and imagine. So what would I be talking about in this passage? And let me show you the 3 things that I would choose. Well, firstly, I would talk about kind of the fact it's described as ugly beyond redemption. It's a rather horrific thing to say about someone. Do not say that about anyone in your life. But this is about a hyena. Of course, the adjective ugly and those connotations of it being grotesque, it being an eyesore, not great to look at. But beyond redemption. Redemption is the notion that your sins are absolved, taken away, so that you can take your place in heaven. It's kind of it's a metaphorical phrase to use here. It really is. Redemption is an abstract noun, but this is like a metaphorical abstract noun. And the point of it is that actually there is no hope for this poor hyena. He is that ugly that nothing can save him. But also, I love those kind of connotations there. It's a religious kind of phrase to use. It almost suggests that not only does the hyena look evil, look kind of sinful, but actually almost like its soul is condemned as well, like it's committed sins in its life. That's the inference there, and that's the perceptive bit that I presume the examiners would like you to see. So what else would I talk about? Well, actually, the writer uses contrast and juxtaposition. Talks of none of the classy ostentation of a leopard's, and when it makes that contrast there with the leopard, in our minds what we do is we get to this idea of a leopard being sleek, being beautiful, being agile, being rather this kind of glorious wild animal. What the writer does here is provides us with that direct contrast. We know it is nothing like that. Therefore, what it does, it amplifies the fact that this thing is ugly, is bungled, is another phrase that is used. So that use of contrast and juxtaposition there from the writer is exceptional. Exceptional. It says, look, think in your head about a leopard, nothing like that, complete opposite. Doesn't have the classiness and the kind of majestic qualities of a leopard. Brilliant piece to use, but you can write about that well. And then the next bit I'd write about it, talks about like the symptoms of a skin disease to describe its kind of coat, which is extraordinary. Of course, it is a simile that is used, but it provides us again. It further enhances that sense that this thing is almost like sickly. It's contagious, and almost as if it is kind of dying. It creates this sense that, in my head, almost like it's like the undead. It makes it look kind of like it's not from the land of the living. It is unpleasant and it is grotesque. But we can see there kind of with three of them. We've got ugly beyond redemption. We've got that metaphorical idea of redemption combined with the adjective ugly. We've got that fantastic bit of contrast and juxtaposition used there with the leopard, and there we've got the simile. I'm confident we can write a piece about that. So let me show you how you might want to write that answer. So let me give you a sense of what a good answer looks like. The writer uses language to suggest that the hyena's appearance is hideous. We are told that the hyena was ugly beyond redemption. Not only is the adjective ugly used to suggest to the reader that the appearance is unappealing, the writer seems to extend and amplify this by using the metaphorical phrase beyond redemption. This makes the reader think, feel and imagine that the hideousness of the hyena is so deep-rooted that nothing could change it. Equally, there are sinister undertones with the religious connotations of the metaphorical abstract noun redemption. It implies that not only is this animal ugly on the outside, but it also has perhaps committed sins and is inherently evil to the extent that it cannot be saved and go to heaven. Its appearance and soul is rotten and grotesque. So you can see the first one there, how I've extended it, how I've explored, I've been perceptive. So let's see how I take that further forward. The writer's use of the simile, like the symptoms of a skin disease, appalls and disgusts the reader. It makes the reader think, feel and imagine that the hyena is plagued, contagious, and is therefore something to keep away from. The phrase instantly makes the hyena an eyesore, displeasing and disconcerting to be near. However, equally, you could suggest that the phrase evokes a sense of pity and sympathy for the hyena's appearance. Its natural markings are unpleasant, seemingly making it an outcast. Excuse me. So you can see how I've taken that further there. So let's go to my final paragraph. The writer's use of juxtaposition and contrast is effective in the text. We are told that the hyena had none of the classy ostentation of a leopard's. Very clearly, the writer is providing the reader with an image of a leopard and its characteristics, sleek, beautiful and awe-inspiring. By urging us to make the contrast, the reader is left with a clear understanding that the hyena is the opposite, which we understand with the semantic field of ugliness and imperfection, shaggy, coarse, bungled. These words take on great significance and power with direct contrast with the leopard. So hopefully you can see there how I've answered the question. I've taken 3 bits of evidence, I've said what terminology and what method is being used, and I've explained the effects. And that is why this is the style that you should be going for with the question 2. So when you do your responses, good luck. This is what you need to be trying to do. Best of wishes.